be in the spotlight, but there's a much bigger problem when it comes to the overall number of shootings in the city. Last year, 23 people were shot by police, 9 fatally. At the same time, there were almost 2,500 black-on-black shootings, of which over 350 were fatal.
In Chicago, over the weekend, 8 were killed, 55 were wounded.
These are numbers that sound like a war zone, like Afghanistan or Syria.
Most of the shootings are in the African-American areas of the city. The majority of the victims are young black men. With someone shot on average every 2 hours, the daily news in Chicago is full of stories of gun crime. Chicago has some of the strictest firearm laws in America. There are no gun shops in the city, and yet, in 2015, police seized over 6,000 illegal guns smuggled in from neighboring states.
At bodegas in the Bronx since last Wednesday. Police releasing this surveillance video of one of the suspects wearing a black and light blue jacket that says Boogie Brats on the back. The NYPD is looking for multiple suspects in these armed robberies. Releasing this surveillance video showing the suspect hitting the bodega worker in the head with a glass bottle multiple times and then throwing him to the ground and choking him until he was unconscious. The bodega is located on Victory Boulevard in the Tompkinsville section of Staten Island. Police are asking for the public's help in identifying this suspect.
4 people were shot in 25 incidents. 8 of them were shot at a gathering in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. News 4's Mark Santia joining us live in Bed-Stuy with what the NYPD says it's doing to curb this crime, Mark.
And Natalie, you take a look around, you can see this is still an active scene. You see there are dozens of evidence markers on the ground, and there are dozens of victims in local hospitals, the aftermath of a bloody weekend across the city. Chaos at the Eleanor Roosevelt houses, women and men loaded onto stretchers as first responders try to help 8 victims wounded in a barrage of bullets.
Firecrackers or gunshot noise, and it just woo, 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 and then the helicopters came along.
Daryl Walden saw the carnage outside his Brooklyn home. While this resident says he does not have all the answers to the surge in shootings, he does stress
we definitely don't need no defunding the police, that's for sure. You know what I'm saying? You know, I think it's getting out of hand.
The key is more gun arrests. We're at the highest level of gun arrests in 25 years. More cooperation between NYPD and community to get the information that PD needs for those prosecutions.
24 hours, there have been at least 4 shootings in the city, resulting in at least 7 people shot, including 2 men in the lobby of this building, as well as 3 students walking home from school. It was another restless night for families across the 5 boroughs. Gunfire erupted just before midnight on 3rd Avenue in the Bronx, grazing an 18-year-old in the elbow. About an hour later, on 133rd Street and Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard, a 27-year-old was shot in the leg. Then around 2 a.m. in Crown Heights, 2 men were shot in the lobby of a building. The shootings happened less than 12 hours after Police Commissioner Keyshawn Sewell denounced the murder of 16-year-old Angela Yambo, killed while walking home from school by the corner of East 156th Street and St. Anne's Avenue in the Melrose section of the Bronx. 2 other teens were also struck.
Story we're following tonight, the Sacramento County DA officially filing murder charges against 3 men in last month's deadly shooting on K Street and explaining why it took so long to make those charges official.
6 people were killed, 12 additional people were shot. There were at least 70 to 80 people in the vicinity of this shooting.
Smiley Martin, his brother DeAndre Martin, and Matula Payton have all now been charged with 3 counts of murder in connection to that shooting.
A gun battle between 2 rival gangs. The evidence shows that the that the rival gang members armed themselves with weapons.
In a 62-page court filing, the extensive charges the men face outlined in detail. All 3 men charged in connection to the murders of the 3 female victims, Melinda Davis, Yamil Martinez, and Jontaya Alexander. Smiley Martin, DeAndre Martin, and Matula Payton also facing enhanced charges for use of 9mm fully automatic weapons and for being felons in possession of weapons.
All 3 of these defendants, as it relates to the shooting downtown, have allegations of special circumstances for multiple murders, which means that they are eligible for capital punishment.
We're also getting our first look at surveillance images from the night of the shooting, collected by Sacramento police, that were included in the court filing. This image showing brothers Smiley and DeAndre Martin hanging out on K Street shortly after 1 o'clock in the morning. Then, at 2 a.m., investigators say DeAndre Martin starts firing his gun near the corner of 10th and Case Streets, with Smiley Martin nearby. An image captured just seconds later shows Matula Payton's arm outstretched, firing his gun while running. A minute later, investigators say Smiley Martin is seen walking past an alcove on K Street, tossing a handgun.
Distribute all of the stuff they stole, and it's very organized.
It is, and that is something that's new. What we used to see is these robberies would happen and then they would sell them out of the back of a trunk or at flea markets and swap meets. Well, now those flea markets, swap meets, and back of trunks, it's on something called the internet. And you don't just sell it here, you can sell it abroad. You can sell it anywhere, and the way that it's set up in the internet, the seller can be anonymous. So, rather than, let's say, stereo equipment, we're seeing high-end entire clothing, we're seeing high-end video equipment, we're seeing everything out there. So Larry, it's going to have to be not only the theft, but also going to be the supply chain that gets it to the people that are paying under for it. But it's got to start somewhere, and right now what he's saying is, you know, let's get it going rather than just sort of pointing fingers and saying, yes, it's over here, but what about this and that?
College. But he says when one of his best friends was shot to death, he slid off his path, pled guilty to possession of a gun, and spent 2 years in jail, 3.5 on probation for conspiring with a known gang member.
What were you doing with the gun?
Protection. You see so much stuff happen, and you don't want to be that person. So it's pick up a gun or just be around and probably get shot with no way to protect yourself.
We're introducing legislation to implement a national freeze on handgun ownership. What this means is that it will no longer be possible to buy, sell, transfer, or import handguns anywhere in Canada. In other words, we're capping the market for handguns. As a further part of this new legislation, we're also fighting gun smuggling and trafficking by increasing maximum criminal penalties and providing more tools for law enforcement to investigate firearm crimes. And we'll require the permanent alteration of long gun magazines so they can never hold more than 5 rounds.